Chris Evans made his return to the MCU in Deadpool and Wolverine, and I can totally see that leading to a possible Captain America cameo in the future. He recently returned as Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, in Deadpool and Wolverine, but unfortunately, Johnny meets a brutal end, ruling out future appearances. However, Evans could still return to the MCU. One way is through a Nomad project. About a year ago, Marvel Studios filed several trademarks for Marvel Studios Nomad. When they file for upcoming projects, they usually file multiple trademarks for things like toys, clothing, cups, and other merch. But they also file one for entertainment services, which signals that they're working on either a movie or a TV show. With Nomad, they've kept that trademark active while letting the others expire. In fact, there is news that Marvel renewed it a few times, including recently. This means Nomad might still be in the works. I really think we're owed a Chris Evans return, and maybe this is the perfect opportunity. Imagine if the story explores Steve's journey of returning all 6 Infinity Stones to their correct timelines, places, and people. It would be an epic way to bring him back while diving deeper into that part of his story. Also, I think we need to see at least a little bit more of Cap's life with Peggy Carter. Maybe a few more Captain America missions too, but with Steve being a bit older now. Another cool idea could be exploring what happened to Steve and Sam after Captain America: The Winter Soldier. The story could show them searching for Bucky, with Steve keeping tabs on him throughout the events of Civil War. After all, he knew where Bucky was hiding even then. Maybe a new faction, made up of the leftover super soldiers from the Civil War era, is still after Bucky. They could be obsessed with studying his DNA, trying to figure out why the formula seems to be more stable in him than in the others. Steve and Sam could team up to protect Bucky from this group, keeping him hidden while trying to stay one step ahead of them. The story could dive into the aftermath of both Winter Soldier and Civil War, showing the ongoing fallout and the dangers lurking around Bucky. Then there's also the whole Nomad storyline they could dive into. The original Nomad is an alternate identity Steve Rogers adopts after he gives up being Captain America. In Captain America number 180, Steve becomes disillusioned with the US government when he uncovers that a high-ranking official, who's strongly implied to be President Richard Nixon, is leading a terrorist group called the Secret Empire. This shatters his faith in the country, and he decides he can't continue as Captain America. However, after a fight with Hawkeye, who's disguised as the Golden Archer, Steve realizes he can't leave his life of heroism behind. He then takes on the name Nomad, meaning man without a country, and dons a new dark blue and yellow suit with no patriotic symbols. This phase doesn't last long though, with Rogers only staying as Nomad for 4 issues. He even trips over his cape at one point. By the end of Captain America number 184, Steve returns to being Captain America, realizing that he can fight for America's ideals without blindly supporting its government. Captain America could definitely make a return in a different project, which seems like a real possibility with where the MCU is right now. I think Evans could come back as a multiverse version of Captain America, helping the Avengers take on Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom in one or both of the upcoming Avengers films. It could also lead to a cool team-up with other versions of Cap from across the multiverse. Even though Evans is a fan favorite in the MCU, his return as Steve Rogers would need to be handled carefully to avoid overshadowing the MCU's new Cap, Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson. That's exactly why I think the multiverse idea is a great fit. It gives Marvel the chance to bring together all 3 Captain Americas that fans have been hoping to see. When Steve passed the shield to Sam in Avengers Endgame, a lot of fans were upset that Bucky, who took up the mantle of Captain America in the comics, didn't get a turn. But with Mackie's Sam Wilson already established in the MCU, we could totally see him join forces with multiverse versions of Evan's Steve Rogers and Stan's Bucky Barnes in something like Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars, where all 3 Captain Americas could team up. Plus, there's always the chance that Haley Atwell's Captain Carter could make an appearance too. I'm convinced that Chris Evans' return to the MCU wouldn't ruin Steve Rogers' ending. The multiverse offers so many possibilities without messing with the closure we got in Avengers Endgame. Seeing all 3 Captain Americas team up on the big screen would be an epic moment in the multiverse saga, giving fans of each version something to celebrate. Plus, if Evans came back as a multiverse version of Steve Rogers, it wouldn't interfere with the way Endgame wrapped up his story, We saw Steve retire peacefully as an old man on Earth 616, so bringing him back in a multiverse role would keep that ending intact while still giving fans a chance to see him in action again. There is definitely a way for Evans to return as the MCU's Steve Rogers without changing Avengers Endgame too much. In the comics, Steve also became old but still played a major role, even continuing his work with S.H.I.E.L.D. That could be how Evans comes back as Steve Rogers, with Old Man Steve helping Nick Fury organize the huge group of heroes for the Avengers' next big battles. If this happens, Steve wouldn't need to be made young again, which means his retirement in Endgame could remain undisturbed, while still giving fans the chance to see him again in a meaningful way. Now, the real question is, will Chris Evans actually return as Steve Rogers in the MCU? The actor has definitely been asked about it, and while there were reports suggesting he signed a deal to return, Evans denied any knowledge of that at the time. Since then, he's stayed pretty firm on the idea that he's proud of his run as Captain America and feels that his arc is special, so coming back could risk what was already achieved. Interestingly, Robert Downey Jr. was the one who convinced Evans to take on the role of Captain America in the first place, and now with RDJ back in the MCU as Doctor Doom, maybe he could convince Evans to return as well. After Evans made a cameo as Johnny Storm in Deadpool and Wolverine, he was asked again about reprising Steve Rogers, but his response wasn't exactly promising, saying it might be best to leave the past behind. While Evans could truly be done with the role, the return of RDJ as Doctor Doom and rumors about Marvel bringing back the original Avengers cast suggest he might just be playing it coy. Let's hope that's the case, and this happens. This doesn't necessarily mean the Nomad project is off the table. It could still happen, but with a different character stepping into the role. In the comics, there have been at least 5 characters who have taken on the Nomad mantle, one of them being Steve Rogers' adopted son, Ian Rogers. While trapped in the mysterious Dimension Z, Captain America rescues Leopold, the infant son of Arnim Zola, and raises him under the name Ian. After evading Zola's forces for years, Ian is accidentally shot by Sharon Carter and thought to be dead. However, he survives, takes up a costume and shield similar to Steve's, and becomes Nomad, defending Dimension Z. In the Axis storyline, Nomad even teams up with Steve Rogers and Spider-Man to rescue Loki. There's also a chance we could see other versions of Nomad, like Jack Monroe, who first took on the role in Captain America No. 282, or Rikki Barnes, another character who's claimed the mantle. So while Steve's version of Nomad might not happen, there are plenty of possibilities for a Nomad project with other characters stepping in. Well, that's it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this and other exciting upcoming movies. We'll see you next time.